John Mateer has committed to play at the University of Oklahoma. We need to talk about what that means for the Sooners, what that means for the rest of college football, as well as does his game translate to the SEC? What can I expect from a John Mateer who's probably going to go into a quarterback derby as soon as he arrives? What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. This is your first time watching the #1 college football show, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss any of the instant reaction segments that we upload to the show. We're pretty quick about it. We like to be on top of it. We also have this real need to talk about what's going on in college football as it is happening. John Mateer was the best quarterback in the transfer portal, bar none. 3,100 yards passing, 826 yards on the ground, 44 total touchdowns. No person had more touchdowns responsible for than John Mateer did at Wazzu this season, and he did it with Ben Arbuckle as his offensive coordinator. Not long ago, Ben Arbuckle left Washington State to become the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, and this was a play to try to shore up the most important and, frankly, most problematic position at Oklahoma this season. As a matter of fact, I think only Michigan had more of a problem at quarterback than Oklahoma did among Power 4 programs, and it was really a struggle for both of those teams to get to bowl eligibility because it really came down to getting consistency out of the guy that is taking the snap from center. With Oklahoma, it was Jackson Arnold, who ends up beating Alabama, but ends up going to the transfer portal, and he has since committed to sign at Auburn, meaning that Michael Hawkins Jr. was the heir apparent and probably is going to will start against Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. But John Mateer joining up means we're going to have a quarterback derby going into the spring. But I don't think that you hire Ben Arbuckle and then you go get John Mateer without the knowledge that the two expect for him to be your week 1 starter in Oklahoma's second season of SEC play. Now, I believe that John Mateer has a ceiling that is not unlike Kyler Murray's or Deshaun Watson's. He can go 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rush yards over the course of a 14-15 game season. But I think that most SEC fans would be, it's real difficult to do anything of that sort of production in this league because the defenses are just that good. And it's true, right? Playing at Washington State against mostly a Mountain West schedule is not the same as playing in the SEC against Texas, Alabama, Georgia. My goodness, Ole Miss. And when they're good, South Carolina or Missouri. Like, you keep going down the list on this with Vanderbilt. The worst program in the Power 4 was not in the SEC. And the worst team in the SEC was probably Auburn. And Auburn jumped up and bit Texas A&M in a quadruple overtime thriller. Vanderbilt upset and #1 Alabama. Mississippi State gave Georgia the what for and the how now. We're looking at an SEC that is loaded top to bottom in this 16-team league, and you need a quarterback that's going to have some moxie to him. And that's the other thing that I think many Oklahoma fans like about John Mateer's game. You can see the passion that he plays with. You can see the emotion that he plays with. And you can see he understands what that offense is capable of and what it can do if he's the quarterback. Also, not for nothing, Ben Arbuckle has really produced a couple of quarterbacks here, or had a couple of quarterbacks here that are pretty damn good, right? Cam Ward goes to Miami and sets the world on fire. John Mateer stays at Wazzu, sets the world on fire. Relatively, two guys that are unknown that make their names at Wazzu. Meanwhile, Wazzu is in the middle of imploding. No head coach, because Jake Dickert earlier today took a job at Wake Forest. No offensive coordinator, because he's at Oklahoma. No defensive coordinator, because he got fired. 22 players into the transfer portal, including 10 starters. They're supposed to play in the Holiday Bowl against Syracuse on December 27th. And the last team that I saw that had 25 players in the portal and lost their head coach had to pull out of playing in their bowl game. And that's Marshall, as Charles Huff is down at Southern Miss. I think one of the things that we really need to also remember about what the John Mateer experience might be is now you need to go and recruit some wide receivers, some running backs, and some offensive line. You know, an offense to go with your #1 quarterback portal pickup. Because as much as I want to say, and I do believe, you can build an offensive, you can build your skill positions as quickly or as not quickly as you want. Find good running backs is okay. Finding wide receivers is okay. Finding tight ends, okay. Offensive line, that's a problem, right? That the Lord doesn't make too many big, strong, fast men that you could put on an offensive line to begin with. Matter of fact, my favorite stat among athletics is 1 in every 12 7-foot men in the entire world is currently in the NBA. Think about that. 1 in every 12, he's in the NBA right now. That's how few there are of 7-footers on earth, let alone those that are coordinated. And then when you're talking about guys that are between the heights of 6'3" and 6'6", can carry 300 pounds on their frame and still move, it's even a smaller field, right? But Bill Bedenbaugh had been one of the best in the world at doing that. And only here the last year has it felt a little bit like he's losing his touch. I think that really getting Michael Fasusi, and others to join up is going to be a big deal. But none of it is going to matter if nobody's healthy. I've been hitting this one pretty hard because I think that this one lays at the feet of your strength and conditioning program. Oklahoma was decimated with injuries, and Nick Anderson was loud about how he did not trust the staff and ends up going to the portal. He's out at LSU along with Bauer Sharp. You're getting Deion Burks back. That's great. That's awesome. That's a win. That's an absolute win. Now you need to get 3, 4, 5 guys around him. Now, Oklahoma's been able to pull Drake Stoops's, Gavin Freeman's. Oklahoma can find guys that can play receiver for it, and usually can find them within the state, right? Running back is a little bit of a different animal altogether. DeMarco Murray's doing his job there. I think letting Tawee Walker walk was a huge miss. But then again, I expected Javonte Barnes to be fine, and I expected Gavin Sawchuk to be fine. Neither was, right? And then you got Jackson Arnold back there who you didn't trust to make good decisions, who put the ball on the floor far too often, fumbled away a win against Missouri, right? Gets benched against Tennessee. And then you got Michael Hawkins Jr., who's got a lot of moxie, but he's still rather raw. This spring, I think, is going to tell us a lot about how quickly he is going to progress. But also, you got a guy who is going to be about Oklahoma. And I think, given what his legacy is, like his daddy playing DB for Bob Stoops, you can understand how the dude from Frisco wants to do right by the Sooners and wants another opportunity to lead them, and will get one where I think he can do a job and make this really hard for John Mateer to take away from him in the spring if he puts on tape something that nobody else can see until the spring, right? Because we're going to be talking about what Michael Hawkins Jr. performance is on December 27th until we get to see the spring game. And even then, there's only so much you can glean from that, right? Miller Moss won a job in the Holiday Bowl and ran off almost everybody else that might have wanted to go to USC, save Jaden Mayava, still went to Jaden Mayava later in the year. And that might be the case for a guy like John Mateer, might be the case for a guy like Michael Hawkins Jr. The other thing is, this is a huge win for Brent Venables, who's at the best is getting maligned for having another piss poor season by his standards, right? 6-7 to 10 wins to 6-6, and then we'll see, right? Oklahoma is not a program that is comfortable going bowling. Oklahoma is only a program that is comfortable playing for championships, right? Make the SEC championship game, get the 5 seed. That's the kind of status that Oklahoma demands. Or, looking across the line over there, looking across the Red River, Texas. That hat needs to come back to Norman. The Red River needs to run red. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason as to why Oklahoma is really in it now. But trying to modernize the front office, you're trying to put together a front office, you're paying out all this money, you're trying not to set an agenda that you can't keep. But you also need to remember that this is Oklahoma, and there is only one Oklahoma. And one of the reasons that I think a lot of the rest of the country doesn't get that is because they don't live here. I deal with this often, right? I have lots of colleagues that live in Los Angeles that always want to tell me how much greater the weather is and how nice it is to do things out there. I'm like, all you're telling me is you don't care about football. I don't care. I care about winning football. Yes, tornadoes, we got them. Ice, we got them. Snow, we got them. Unpredictable weather, we got it, right? I also got gas at $2.31 a gallon. Means I fill up my my Ram 1500 for $65. What you paying? Oh, that's right. You plug yours in right into the port over there, right? Drawing on this electricity. Hope that car don't explode. Anyway, all I'm saying is that we getting a dude here that knows what it's like. Got a little Baker Mayfield to him. Got a little Jalen Hurts to him. Got a little Kyler Murray to him. And hopefully with Ben Arbuckle, an up-and-coming offensive coordinator, and Zach Allen, an up-and-coming defensive coordinator, Brent Venables is going to have everything he needs to go win championships.